Hi, today I'm going to go ahead and share some brief information with you that is going to help you become a better freight dispatcher and help you for your day-to-day to work, schedule. So I want to go ahead and share pretty much, key pointers, things, tools, and softwares that can make your job a lot easier as a freight dispatcher. I'm also going to go ahead and explain what equipment is needed to become a freight dispatcher to pretty much be successful and be able to run a business or just be a dispatcher itself. I'm also going to go ahead and explain to you why dispatchers are very well needed in this industry. And I'm also going to go ahead and share, just pretty much little things that can make, a difference between a good freight dispatcher and a freight dispatcher who isn't given his full potential of work. So one of the main things I want to go ahead and start with is the equipment. Between 80 to 90% of us already have the equipment that is needed to become a freight dispatcher. One of them is being a computer, accessible internet, which is high-speed internet. You also want to have a cell phone line or a phone line, whichever one you have to your convenience, a printer, a desk, and a chair. If you don't have these type of equipment and these type of material things, it is something that is honestly very accessible, and it isn't that much of a high-end cost to go ahead and purchase to start your freight dispatching business or dispatching career. The other thing I want to go ahead and share with you is some of the tools. So this is one of the biggest tools that you're going to use to pretty much run your day-to-day work schedule, and this is a load board. This is where you're going to spend most of your time, most of your day of work, pretty much looking over freight and booking freight for your truck drivers or truck companies that you're working with. There's tons of load boards out there, and you can pretty much use whichever load board you adapt to or whatever load board your work adapts to. So this is just a basic one. I just want to go ahead and show you guys how to maneuver through this. So here is pretty much where the load is located. The deadhead, if you're not familiar with it, it's pretty much the radius of what the driver is willing to drive from that certain area to pick up this load. So for example, what we're going to go ahead and do here is we're going to go ahead and put Houston, Texas. So we'll say this is where the truck is at the moment. Let's say the driver is willing to drive 75 miles deadhead, and he doesn't want to drive anything more than that. For the destination, if this truck company or trucker has a desired location, then let's say he wants to go to Baltimore, then you can easily just input Baltimore, and it'll give you all the loads going to Baltimore. But we're going to go ahead and just leave this blank here, so we can see all the loads that are in Houston in that 75-mile radius. We're going to go ahead and put the date of the 19th. These are the different equipment, so pretty much different trailers that these truckers have. So there's flatbed, there's drive-in, there's reefer, there's step deck. We're going to go ahead and just leave it as flatbed as an example. And now we're just going to go ahead and hit find loads, and it's going to go ahead and populate all the loads that are available at the moment on the load board. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of explain this here to you guys. So as you can see here, it says age. This is pretty much the time that this load has been up on the load board. So for example, this one has been up for 2 hours. The pickup date is at October 19th. And it's 11 miles of deadhead, so it's in that same area where the trucker is at, which is Pasadena. Here it shows you exactly where the load is. Here it shows you where this load is going. Here it shows you the miles that that load will be ran. It shows you the length of the truck that's needed, and it also shows you the weight. This here shows you exactly what type of equipment it needs. And this here is the company of the brokerage company that has the load available. And here where it says price is usually where the rate goes. Now I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a little tool as far as getting the rate for this freight, if there is no rate on here, when you make the call, you always want to have a calculator out so you can pretty much get the rate per mile. And I'm going to go ahead and explain that to you here in a second and show you how exactly you would do that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and use this load as an example. So as you can see, point A is pretty much where it will be picked up. Point B is where it will be dropped off. The deadhead is 0 because it is in Houston and that's where the truck is. And then this here is the distance of the freight. So from where it's at to where it's moving. Down here, as you see, it says equipment and accessories. It needs a flatbed, so you know that that's exactly what we're looking for. And this here is the description and comments. It's a TWIC card. TWIC cards are pretty much a card that trucking companies need to get into ports. Most ports require it. So you always have to, that's a question that you would have to ask the driver, or it's something they, after you work with this company that you're working with, you will know if they have a TWIC card or if they don't have a TWIC card. Here you can see is the name of the brokerage company, their DOT, and then down here is their telephone number. So pretty much to book this load, it is very simple. All you need to go ahead and do is give them a call, ask if this load is available. If this load is available, if this is your first load that you're taking with this brokerage company, you have to pretty much fill out what is called the carrier agreement and the broker agreement, which is pretty much established paperwork that you guys have to mutually fill out and send to each other, so that way they have you on their system and you have them in your system, and that's a one-time thing. So to give you an example, if this is the first time you ever work with this brokerage company, you'll fill out those papers, you'll send it to them, they'll send you your part, and then you won't ever have to do that again, because pretty much once they have that information, you're in their system. So anytime you get another load with them, all they have to send you is a rate con, which is pretty much all the information for the load with the rate, with the price, and you just sign it and send it back. So let's say we get this load, everything goes well, you sign the paperwork, you send it back to them, and then they send you the rate con, you sign the rate con, and then you send it back. That truck is loaded, that truck is ready to go, and we move on to the next step. Now, one of the biggest things that I believe, like I said, that makes a freight dispatcher different from another one is thinking ahead of the game. So one of the ways that you can kind of think ahead of the game is pretty much already starting to look for a load for this same truck that will be dropping off this load. So what we're going to go ahead and do is, this load's already booked, the driver's on the way to pick it up. Let's go ahead and make our day and the trucking company and the trucker's day a little bit easier, and pretty much get ahead of the game and start looking for a load the same exact day at the destination. So then that way, when the trucker gets to his destination, he already has a load, and you're eliminating work from that certain day that you already did now. So like I said, it's just a little tip to pretty much get ahead of the game and be able to get your trucks loaded as quick as possible. So we're gonna go ahead, copy and paste this really quick here. We're gonna go ahead and put this here, put a space. We're gonna go ahead and leave the deadheaded miles as 100 miles for this one. We're gonna leave this blank for anywhere for the destination, and we're gonna go ahead and put this on for the 22nd. We know it's a flatbed. We can go ahead and change. We're gonna go ahead and change this here. We're gonna put it as any size, and we're gonna go ahead and click Find Loads. So as you can see, these are the loads that are currently available at the moment. This doesn't necessarily mean that these are the only loads that will be available, because for the most part on Loadboards, there's always new loads being posted from every other 2 minutes to every other hour. So there's always going to be loads on here regardless. Just because, like I said, this is what is on here now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the only thing that will be there for the remaining of the week or for the remaining of next week. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one here as an example. So as you can see, this one here is only 19 miles of deadhead. The distance is right here. The weight is right here. And then the length is right here. It also says that it needs a flatbed with tarps. So now you know that you want to go ahead and make sure that this driver has tarps. So one of the, this is going to be a key point of this call. You always want to make sure if there's tarps, you want to make sure to ask what size. So there's a 4-foot drop, a 6-foot drop, and an 8-foot drop. So you always want to make sure to ask what tarp exactly they need for this load, because you want to always go ahead and securely make sure that your driver or the truck company has this tarp before you book this load, and he gets there and then he doesn't have the correct tarp. So for example, like I said, this is always going to be pretty much the same repeatedly. To book a load, to get a load, you're always going to do the same exact cycle. You're going to overview everything. This is point A, so this is where the load is. This is point B, so this is where the load will be delivered to. The deadhead, this is the distance, pretty much the load, anything that has to do with the load will be right here. The weight, how long it is, and the equipment. If there's any description and comments, that will be down here. The brokerage firm's name is down here, DOT, phone number. So we'll go ahead and call this load, see if it's still available. Let's say for this brokerage firm you're already set up, so you don't have to do the initial paperwork. This isn't your first load with this brokerage firm, so you don't have to do the initial paperwork. You just have to book this load, and they have to send you the rate con. You sign it and send it back to them. So let's go ahead and say that this load is good, and you call and they say, yeah, the load is available. You want to go ahead and ask, okay, and what size tarps do you need? So let's say they go ahead and tell you, yeah, it needs an 8-foot drop tarp. So, you can easily make a call to your driver, or before you call this load, you can already know that, that answer. You can call the driver before and make sure that he has, to see what tarps he has. And when they tell you, yeah, it requires an 8-foot tarp for the whole trailer, if you know that the driver already has it, then you can pretty much go ahead and book this load. So pretty much you book this load. It's the same process. Like I said, you get the rate con, you sign it, you send it back to them. Now I want to go ahead and show you guys that little thing that I was explaining about the calculator. So as you can see here, this is the rate of that load. Now if you want to go ahead and figure out how much this load is paying per mile, it is extremely easy. With this calculator, we'll go ahead and figure out exactly what this load is paying per mile. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and put the price of the load that's going to be moved, and we're going to divide it by the miles of the distance. So we're going to put 1766, and this is paying 157 a mile. If the trucker or the truck company is okay with this rate, then you can move forward, and you will learn the rate per mile that the company that you're working with is okay with moving their trucks. So that's very simple. Like I said, you pretty much just grab the rate, which is up here, the price of the load, and then you use a calculator, and all you have to do is divide it by the miles so you can get the rate per mile. A lot of truckers and a lot of trucking companies, some of them don't want to hear what is the rate. They want to hear what the rate per mile is paying, and that's how you get to that. It's a very little simple tool. You just use a calculator and you can figure that out. So as far as the load board, like I said, it's something that is extremely easy to use. It's something that you just have to adjust to and get used to using. But as you can see on the first load that I went ahead and pretty much walked you guys through the process, it's exactly the same exact process that I just did for another load. Now the other thing I want to get to with this little sequence that I did here was, as you can see, I eliminated pretty much, I guess an hour and a half of my day for the next day, because I booked this load the same day that I booked the other load that was already going to Idaho. So that's thinking ahead of the game. That's pretty much, trying to calculate things to make these trucking companies and truckers keep moving, because these truckers need to keep moving. They want to keep on going, because the more those wheels spin, the more income comes their way. And the more those wheels keep on moving, the more income comes your way as a freight dispatcher as well. And this is pretty much just keeping everyone happy. This is keeping the trucking company, at ease. This is keeping the trucker happy as well, because he is getting paid for the mile, for an example, so he needs to keep on moving. And this is keeping yourself as a freight dispatcher in a good position, and everyone pretty much is in at a content with each other, because everyone is doing their job correctly. So that's pretty much the load board. Just different little things that can kind of put you aside from being a good freight dispatcher and just being a freight dispatcher. So you always want to go ahead and aim for the best and do your best that you can be in your career. And this is one of the small things, detailed things that can kind of that can make you an overachiever. So now that we went through the load board, I want to go ahead and show you guys a little tool which is in my eyes is actually really cool and kind of important to have. This here is just a regular Excel spreadsheet with pretty much basic information of all the loads that you move as a freight dispatcher. Now, the reason that you want to go ahead and have something like this is because as a freight dispatcher and in this industry, you need to be organized, and not only for yourself, but for the company that you're working with. And it's just something, that's very well recognized, and it's good for yourself to have, so that way you're organized. Let's say a broker gives you a call one day and needs an invoice number for whatever reason. They, one of their papers got lost or something, and they know the date and they know the rate, but they don't remember the invoice number. So let's say someone calls in and says, I'm calling in about the freight that you took on 4/27/2018. I'm not really sure what that invoice was. So you go over here and that's the invoice. So this is pretty much just like a little tool to keep you organized. This is the invoice number here. This here is the name of the company, the brokerage company that you worked with to grab this load. This here is the rate. This is the fuel advances if the trucker requests a fuel advance. This is pretty much like what that load was paid after fuel advances, or if there was no fuel advance. This is the date, and then this here is the miles that was in between pickup and drop off. So this is just like a little tool to keep yourself organized and kind of have everything in a well standard ordered place. And it's just like little things like this that makes your job as a freight dispatcher a lot easier, and it keeps you very well organized to the point where if you ever need anything, if anything ever needs to be resolved, it's a click of a button away. So as far as that, I want to go ahead and kind of move a little bit more into what exactly is a freight dispatcher, what a freight dispatcher pretty much does, and why freight dispatchers are needed. So as you can see, in between 80 to 90% of the things that we have in our household, from things that we consume to material things, are pretty much being transported by trucks. On the day-to-day basis, everything, like I said, if not everything, but mostly everything, is being transported in a truck. Dispatchers are very well needed in this industry, because a dispatcher is pretty much the middle person in between a brokerage firm and a trucking company to keep the truck moving. So obviously your responsibility is to pretty much book a load with a broker for the trucking company and keep them moving. So freight dispatchers need truck companies as much as truck company needs dispatchers, and vice versa. Brokers need dispatchers as much as dispatchers need brokers, and vice versa with the brokerage firms and with truck companies. So this is pretty much a circle where everyone kind of unites and needs each other to keep the transportation business going, and to keep pretty much pretty much everything in America moving, as far as material stuff and things that we consume, because everything is transported. As far as a career and as a freight dispatcher, it could be very rewarding. Whether you establish your own business or you work for a dispatching company, it could be extremely rewarding. Just because I'll say in between 80 to 90% of freight dispatchers are working from home, and it's either they're working from home for a dispatching company, or they are establishing their own business from the comfort of their home, eliminating that 9 to 5, or eliminating other jobs that maybe they're not happy with, or careers that they're not happy with. This is a very well established industry, the transportation business, and it honestly won't be going anywhere anytime soon. Things will change, because things always change. But everyone just adapts to changes. But this is a great career to pretty much pursue and stick to. Like I said, just because there's a lot of things out there that anyone can do. But one of the things that people are starting to look into as a freight dispatcher is that most of these careers are done from home. You have a lot more time for yourself and your loved ones and your pretty much anyone around you. You're pretty much giving yourself that quality time that maybe you weren't giving yourself for the past couple of years. So these are just kind of some basic things that I wanted to go ahead and share with you guys about a freight dispatcher and what a freight dispatcher does, and why freight dispatching is so important. Not just to us, but like pretty much the country, because we kind of run off of transportation. There's a lot of opportunity in this industry, and why not look for an opportunity in something where you could make six-figure income if you put the hard work, dedication, and effort into this, and you start your own business, or you work for a dispatching firm. There is a lot of potential, there is a lot of reward, and it is definitely something that you can grow with, learn, and take to the next step whenever you're ready, and establish your own firm. And like I said, you can do it from the own comfort of your home. So I want to just go ahead and have a little overview, a little bit of a replay about everything that we spoke about in this video, and I want to just go ahead and reassure you guys. So like I said, this here is a load board. You can pretty much use any load board that you can adapt to, or any load board that will adapt to your work. There's free ones. There's some that you have to pay like a monthly subscription to. It really comes down to your own decision. But like I said, this here is pretty much where the load will be located. This here is the deadhead that the driver is willing to drive. This here is the destination of where this load would be going. So you could either leave that blank so it can give you all the loads in that radius, or if you have a desired area that this truck driver needs to go, then you can easily just go ahead and put in the name of the city and the state. This is pretty much the date, this is the equipment that will be needed, this is the size, and all you have to go ahead and click is find loads, and it'll auto-populate all the loads. Like I said, you would click on the load. It has point A, which is pretty much where the load will be located for pickup, point B for drop-off. It has the deadhead, it has the distance, it has all the pretty much the requirements that are needed, the weight, pretty much all the information that you would need for this load. And then it has the brokerage firm's name, the phone number for you to call and book this load. Like I said, it is something that is really won't ever change. It's something that's always gonna happen, you're always going to have to call and make sure the load is available. And if the load is available, go through the process. If it's a new brokerage company that you're working with, you guys have to exchange, your agreements as a company, so they have you in their system and you have them in your system. And after that, then they send you the rate con. Once you get the rate con, then you sign it, send it back to them. And then when you go ahead and book a load with them in the near future, you wouldn't have to do their agreement anymore, because you're already in their system and they're in your system. All you would have to pretty much go ahead and do is receive a rate con, sign it, and send it back. I want to go ahead and just go over the equipment and pretty much the things that you need to succeed as a freight dispatcher, whether you are in an office or at home. Honestly, you just need a computer, internet, a cell phone line, a printer, a desk, and a chair, a load board, and it's pretty much all you really need to succeed as a freight dispatcher. And like I said, most if not all these things are very accessible, and it's services and equipment that for the most part isn't, it won't break the bank, and it's something that you can go ahead and pretty much have access to at your own pace. Now, like I said, I spoke a little bit about why dispatchers need truckers need dispatchers, and why brokers need truckers and dispatchers, why everyone needs each other. As I explained, the trucking industry, everyone kind of needs each other to keep everything moving. I explained to you guys that pretty much the trucking industry is a very well off industry, and it's something that is very good to get into. And especially now that a lot of people are willing and trying to work from home, this is something that you can definitely do from home for the majority of the time. Most of these companies are being ran from a home, or something not too costful, maybe a smaller office. You don't need to be, for example, in a huge luxurious building to be a freight dispatcher. You can do it from the comfort, from wherever you're comfortable, from the comfort of your home. So I hope that this video here and the tools and pretty much all the little softwares, and like I said, like things like Excel, spreadsheet, and pretty much everything that I've kind of walked you guys through will help you become a better freight dispatcher, and maybe help you in a near future, and hopefully in the very, very, very near future. I hope that you guys use all these tools to start booking freight, and maybe growing your own business as a freight dispatcher, or working as a dispatcher, whichever role you decide to take. But I want to go ahead and thank you for watching this video. I want to go ahead and thank you for considering us, and just devoting a little bit of your time to to letting me share my knowledge about what dispatching is and what the transportation world can kind of bring to you. And other than that, I want to go ahead and say thank you one more time for watching this video, and I hope that you start dispatching very soon. Thank you.